going to be like, I can't hear me anyway.
Good morning, folks. Jeremy Larkin here, host of the St. George Real Estate Morning Drive, coming at you live, literally live, from Larkin Group headquarters, the Legacy Corner building at the corner of Tabernacle and University Boulevard. Also forever known as what? Jesse, what was our building previously? What can you tell people?
Cameo Florist. It's actually where people came to be happy, get flowers for their weddings.
Well, they came to be happy, or they came to try and make things happy
or
again.
try to make things happy at home.
There was a lot of resolution
There's a good point
that
in
I
that.
felt like was going on. Blake, how's my sound? We good? Okay, cool. I want to make sure that we're like crushing the sound right now.
So people don't expect to hear this from me, but because of my just discombobulated past. But I actually bought
you mean amazing past?
A corsage from Cameo Florist.
Did you really?
Once.
One time.
And actually, I think
When would that have been? Like what? I want to talk about what time that would have been.
1992.
92. I was a junior in high school.
Yep.
You're just a little bit older than me, but not much.
Not much. I was 22.
Yeah, and I would have been like 16 years old. Phenomenal, guys. Jeremy Larkin, host of the St. George Real Estate Morning Drive. I've got Jesse Poll here. We are live literally at Larkin Group headquarters. This is a lot of fun. We've never shot this way. As a matter of fact, this is going to be great. I'm going to grab a photo right now of my foot, and Jesse's going to be in it. Blake's going to be in it, and the laptops. This is pretty good. Guys, our show, by the way, is completely produced by our friends at Blueform Media, and we love them. And if you saw his shirt, if you saw the shirt that this guy is wearing today, he always keeps one button undone as well. He's got style. He's just it's very he is very Miami of Vice,
There you go.
So
talk about from the 90s.
Yeah, Blueform Media.
80s.
And I want to tell you something, that working with them in their studio that they normally work from, that we have, is an amazing experience. And there was certainly nothing wrong with it. But what we said was, gosh, we took this building. I routinely get this kind of deal. I ran into Gil Almquist, county commissioner, recently, right? These guys, he's like, Jeremy, your building, it's the best thing that's happened to downtown in years. You saved the corner, which the funny thing is, I wasn't trying to save the corner. We just thought it would be a cool place to do business.
Well,
but why are we doing?
It's actually deeper than that.
It's always deeper for Jesse, and I love it. I want it to be.
The
deeper.
purpose of this corner is not just to save the downtown. There's so much history for you and your family here.
There's a ton.
I think there was a draw that said, "There's no way I can't. I have to do this."
I definitely tried to save relationships and marriages. Well, not multiple marriages, but some other things at this corner with corsages and flowers. Okay. But definitely went to some high school dances. And, my father used to, for the longest time, Larkin Plumbing and Heating, they had the main, what I would say is about 50% of this block was Larkin Plumbing.
Right.
And then when I was about probably a sophomore in high school, is actually when, maybe a freshman, is when Taco Bell came in.
Okay.
And my uncle was involved in this, and they built It's the old Taco Bell, because this one that's on the corner now is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice. It's one.
The original was, I guess it was beautiful then, but I worked there for like 3 days. 3 days. And I remember they asked me to cut the onions. And I was cutting the onions. I had rubber gloves on, and I was crying, and I was like, I can't do this. I think I was 14 years old, and they let me work in there because my uncle was involved in the establishment. So guys, I want to talk about, look, there's a lot of fun history here. My mother ran a little,
in the little strip mall, right?
A little kids store, the ABC store.
Where 605 Place, the big building next to us.
It was called Kemp Corner.
That was a little strip mall back then.
Kemp Corner. They had Norchtown Dry Cleaners, and there were a couple things that was so fun, guys. We didn't expect to go into some history, but we're going to. So Norchtown Dry Cleaners was there, and Larkin Plumbing was on the other side. And then there was a place right up here. Oh my gosh, how did my brain just fry at the place that we would go play video games? Whoever is watching, guys, we're facebook.com/St. George Experts. You guys can catch us right now on Facebook. As a matter of fact, Jesse, I think that it would be wise to share this with the planet, and I will.
I shared it to my page, but I don't have the planet on my page.
Yep, facebook.com/ I have a few, but not a terrible amount. Facebook.com/St. George Experts, and you can check this out. And it was Time Savers. Thank you. It just hit me.
Time Savers was
Isn't this too funny? So we'd come up to Time Savers, Live in at Larkin Group HQ, first time ever. This is what we're putting on. Here we go. This is kind of fun on the Facebook feed. So we would come in here, guys, and you would play video games and buy candy, and time savers. I mean, guys, time savers. So what were you? I don't know what time you're saving because we went up there to play. Yeah, time suckers.
Because you start playing video games. Hours later, you come to.
Yeah, exactly. Our friends in Cedar City, we also produce a program at the Cedar City Real Estate Morning Drive, and we'll be producing a lot of that content moving forward. Not live, but in Cedar City, the place was called West Side Market. Okay. And West Side was down by North Elementary. And my aunt and uncle lived there. So it was the exact same kind of thing. And you go down there, and you'd buy like penny candy in a paper bag.
That was like the thing back then. Video arcades.
It should be a thing again. We've lost our way. Instead, guess what the thing is? We sit on our couches. Movies. We sit on our couches like this, and we screw up our posture by looking at phones. Right. So, guys, our show is brought to you by our friends at Guild Mortgage, and honestly, how many problems have been solved because we put them in touch with Chantry and his team? I mean. Have you ever once said, "Hey, Chantry, we have a complicated borrower. What should we do?" That he gave you the wrong answer?
No,
never.
And I tell this story all the time. What I love about Chantry and his team is they will always do the right thing for you.
Yeah,
even if it means sending you somewhere else to do business.
Absolutely, or saying, "Hey, I don't think you can even buy a home right now."
He's done that to me.
Good to know.
Twice. I tried to refinance my house, and he said, "Jesse, I'd love to do this, but it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Go over here and do this. It's going to make a lot more sense for you."
Yeah. Yeah. These guys are amazing. And yesterday I had and this is kind of fun. Jesse, you said, where do you want to go today? Where I want to go today is I want to talk about some of the actual scenarios that real buyers and sellers are dealing with. So I had one of our great old clients, Kathy, call us this week. And she called me actually last week. She said, "Hey, I have a home, and it's a little tiny home." What had happened is we had sold a home for them up in the Central Brookside area years ago. And then they moved elsewhere. And I want to keep anonymity, right? So they moved elsewhere, and at some point her husband passed. Well, along the way, she had one of her adult children move in because of an accident, a tragic accident. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly she finds herself living in this home. It's a small home. He's in a bedroom. And it's a tiny bedroom, and it's not enough space for everybody. And this is where you start to get into kind of the complexities of real estate.
Right.
And the complexities of real estate is she took out what's called a HECM loan. A HECM loan is a reverse mortgage. Mm-hmm. And a reverse mortgage, okay, so Jesse, so people understand, if I go get a HECM as an HECM, but stupid anyway.
That's the technical name for it.
Okay, so if I go and take a loan out today to purchase a home, which I do on several homes, and you do. Every month, I'm going to pay two things on that loan. What am I going to pay?
You're going to pay the interest and the principal.
Yeah. So every month,
and it pays. So the principal pays it down, and the interest you just
pays the interest.
You pay the interest every month.
Cost of borrowing the money from the bank.
Yep.
So if I have a loan when I purchase a home that's $400,000 over time, that should be going which direction? Down. Okay.
It goes down.
Well, a HECM loan. It's interesting. A HECM loan is for seniors who are on fixed income. And so instead of the loan going down, the loan principal balance goes?
It goes up because the interest that you would have paid every month,
the payment, they literally take as an income. Yeah.
Or you can actually pay it every month so that it just stays stagnant. But for the most part, people are doing that loan so that they don't actually have a payment.
Yeah. And it's really kind of fascinating.
And they can live for the rest of their lives. Even if it goes upside down, they have a home for
Correct.
life.
And once upon a time, I actually had put my mother-in-law in a HECM loan. I didn't put her in it. I put her in a home. But what had happened is kind of fascinating. She was living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-story townhome, all the bedrooms upstairs, getting older. We move her literally a quarter mile, like across the street, to a single level, 2-car garage, also 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, no stairs, put her in a HECM loan. And then what was so cool is she goes from saying, how am I going to pay my mortgage as I get elderly and go into my senior years, to the mortgage is paying her. Mm-hmm. So this is fascinating, right? Because a lot of people don't understand the HECM loan, the reverse mortgage.
Right.
I'll come back to Kathy momentarily.
So another place where that can be really helpful is, let's say you have a home in St. George and you're selling it and you just can't get enough to do what you want to do on the other side. The values are too high. A reverse mortgage could be a great product in that sense because you basically put 40 or 50 to 60% down.
Sure.
And then finance the rest in a reverse mortgage because they were trying to pay it all cash, but they didn't have enough cash to buy what they wanted.
Right.
But they would have enough cash to put the down payment down and have a little nest egg.
Yes.
And never have the mortgage for the rest of your life. The biggest caveat to that is if you're counting on leaving your equity to your kids, then it's going to be shorter or smaller than it would have been.
And don't leave it. Let them figure it out on their own. Anyway, just who knows?
But it can be really helpful in that scenario to help them figure out and live out the rest of their life in some comfort.
Sure, right? So look, the interesting, what's going to happen with a HECM loan or reverse mortgage? That loan's going to go to like there's no equity in it, theoretically, unless you pass away earlier. Well,
or the market goes up.
How the bank manages this is they require them to bring at least 50% down. Okay,
depending on
down payment.
And there's some algorithm that figures that number.
You're getting choked up about this morning? I think you better take a drink of that water, buddy. I'm going to invite my co-host to take a drink. I'm kind of worried about him. I know that you're emotional about serving your clients, and we know that you love them.
I am.
But for Pete's sake, buddy, let's not cry on the air.
Yeah, I've got something stuck in my throat there.
All right. Well, it's called a lot of love. It's called a lot of love, buddy. So okay. Kathy comes to us, and this is an interesting situation, and I'm going to tell this story because we can't help her.
Yeah.
And it's so important to know that not every situation can be resolved. She said, is there any way I could sell my home, move to another, upgrade, get some more square footage? Well, the problem is that between the price of her home and the price of the next home she needs to purchase, there will not be enough equity.
Yeah.
She needs 60% in equity to get into another reverse mortgage.
Right.
And so what happened is I said, okay, this is the best case scenario. What's the second best case scenario? And she said, well, I'd like to pay off a couple of debts. And how can I do that? So this is where Chantry Abbott came in, right? He and I start going back and forth. I'm sending in emails. I've got this scenario. Here's what's going on. And we're still in dialogue, right? And people go, well, this isn't a very heartwarming story. Well, sometimes it isn't heartwarming. And here's the point. These are the situations people are dealing with. Ultimately, she said, well, I guess I really like my view. Her view is incredible. I really like my backyard and my back patio. It's amazing. I've been there. I guess I could deal with a small home. So now it's plan B. How do I just pay some of these debts off?
Right.
Okay. Another scenario, Jesse, I get on the phone with a fellow yesterday, 89 years old. He lives in Las Vegas temporarily. His adult son, who's over 55, lives in his home in Sun River. Well, he wants to kind of help him out of the house. So
help him out of the house.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Well, this fellow went to Las Vegas to live with his other daughter because his wife passed away. And these are the scenarios of real estate. 89 years old. His wife passes away last October. He needs some help. He needs some emotional support. He needs some physical support. Sharp as anything. I mean, this dude was like, I didn't know he was 89. I thought he was going to say he was about 75 is what I thought.
Okay.
Is kind of just talking to him. And so he moves to Las Vegas, moves into the condo. His adult son, maybe and a wife, hop into the Sun in Sun River, old enough to be in Sun River because of the age rules.
Right.
And so when we got him on the phone, he said, I was just going to take the home off the market. But, I guess if I could get the right price, well, here's the interesting part. I'm going to string this all together, Sun River. I said, well, it just so happens that we have your neighbor Diane's home under contract. This guy's on Sunstar. She's on Sunstar.
Okay.
I said, we got Diane's place under contract. Diane is an amazing woman. Holy cow, she's got incredible stories. She's from the East Coast. She just decided, she and her sweet little dog, it's time to not manage an 1,800 square foot home with a 2.5 car garage in Sun River. So we're moving her to Ovation. Ovation's like a freaking destination resort.
It really is.
4 restaurants over there.
It's a nice place.
My son, when they were moving his mother's mother to the assisted living recently, He's 24. They moved all the stuff in and he's like, how do I get in here?
Yeah. Can I live here too?
Yeah. He's 24. He's a backcountry guide, like a hippie kind of granola kid out in Rockville. And I was like, buddy, you just keep taking people on tours and rock climbing.
Keep going. You might get here one day.
So I'm stringing this. There's a theme here, right? And so I said, it just so happens we have Diane's place under contract. He said, well, where's she going? He didn't really know her. Mm-hmm. He's on Sunstar. She's on Sunstar. He's thinking because he had his home on the market, he has an expired listing that my home won't sell. Guys, your home can sell. Jesse, are there buyers in the market right now?
Yeah, there are.
Are there a whole bunch of buyers in the market right now?
There are.
I'm going to ask you a question in a moment to tell us exactly how many homes are under contract in the county. Will you tell us?
Yep.
So I get chatting with this fellow and he says, well, maybe I would like to sell it. And could you go see my son and take a walk through it? He said, when the conversation started, it was, I'm going to come back up. Well, then I find out he's 89 years old. And I'm thinking, are you really going to come back up? To be fair, right? I didn't say it. I thought it. But do you know what he ended up saying? Well, I don't really want to come back up because if I could get him out of the house and move him to Vegas, 3 of my children would be in Las Vegas. If you're 89, do you want to live in a different town from 3 of your children?
You don't.
No.
In fact, many times we're trying to get closer to our kids as we get older.
Yeah, correct. So he had a price on his home. It didn't sell. 154 days on the market with another agent.
Yep.
So people don't know this. And I need that number. I need that number. Have you got it? Oh, beautiful. People don't know that in 2007, I was about a year in the business. It came to my attention that I really wanted to specialize in helping frustrated sellers, people who had been on the market with another agent and it didn't work. Right. And by the way, this is never about beating up the first agent ever. Yeah. I've often had this phone call. I had one yesterday. Hey, what happened to your house? The last guy screwed it up. I said, how did he screw it up? Well, he said he was going to be really aggressive and he was going to do all these things. This agent will go nameless. And it was going to be do. And the guy never even showed up. Well, here's the thing. You know what I said? I said, I don't even know if I know your agent. I'm sure he's a great guy. It just didn't go right. I definitely know his agent. By the way, he's a good guy. We never, ever defame or criticize the previous agent. What we do is we say, what if we could create a situation to get you the money you need to get you where you wanted to go? Because Jesse, just role play with me for a minute. Jesse, when you put the home on the market, you had some sort of a plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where were you going to?
I was going to Northern Utah.
And if you're a real estate agent, you should take track of this conversation. This is how you would chat with someone who has an expired listing. Northern Utah. Oh, cool. What's taking you up there?
I just, I got some kids. Be halfway between my kids, really. I've got one in Cedar, one in Idaho.
Yeah.
Be halfway between.
Yeah. And man, you're still trapped here, huh?
Yep.
I'm curious, what was your original time frame to get the home sold?
I didn't really have one, but I just wanted to see if we could make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jesse, I'm curious. The home came off the market. You said maybe you're just going to give up.
Yeah. I thought, well, I'll try. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
If you could get a price, the money you need to get to Northern Utah, we're at out there?
Just anywhere. It doesn't matter. Just want to get closer.
Anywhere from the greater Nephi area to Ogden? Okay.
Yeah, anywhere between Salt Lake and Ogden.
I'm making it up as I'm going here. If you could get the money that you need to get up there and be close to the kids, close to the grandkids, able to hop over to the baseball tournaments and the soccer tournaments and the recitals, would it still be worth a 30-minute conversation?
Yeah.
Okay. Because Jesse, years ago, we figured out that sometimes sellers put their home on the market and I don't know if they worked with someone who was inexperienced or if the timing was wrong. And sometimes a fresh approach can get you what you want. Okay. Right. So I had this dialogue, but you know what I didn't say? Well, what was wrong with your last agent? This guy must have been an idiot. No, we don't do that. But what we realize is that there are really 3 premises that cause a home to sell, Jesse. They are price. What else?
Condition.
And what else?
Location.
Okay. Perfect. And the marketing is our piece.
And then marketing. And any combination of those 4 could
So let's talk through it. Can we change the location of a home?
Nope.
Can we move the high tension power lines that somebody has in their backyard?
Nope.
Can we move the ratty neighbors that are driving them batshit crazy?
Nope.
Okay. Can we change the economy?
Nope.
Can we elect the right president? We definitely cannot do that. The entire country's figured that out because we've screwed that up many cycles in a row. I mean, the fact that these are our candidates is fun. So, our candidates, by the way, are an over 80-year-old man who doesn't seem like he's got it all together, and a guy that was once upon a time spoofed in Back to the Future 2 at Biff's. Remember Blake? It was like Biff's, whatever, and it was in Atlantic City. So, they spoofed the guy.
Yeah.
Notice I didn't beat up on one party, I beat up on both parties.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, Jesse, we can control the price.
Yep. In the condition.
The condition, the seller can control the condition, and we control what?
The marketing.
We deploy a marketing plan. By the way, look at our office. Do you think we know how to present something?
Yeah.
So I'm going to circle this back.
Okay.
How many homes are under contract right now in the market?
570 as of the 13th.
Okay, 570 homes are under contract in the multiple listing service. I want to go ahead and assume that builders around the county that are off the MLS have at least another, 200?
2 or 3, yeah.
Let's say 2. So let's say 570 plus 200, 770.
Yep.
If 770 homes are under contract, how many total buyers and sellers involved in that is times 2?
Yeah, it's 1,600.
1480, 1480. There, guys, 1,480 families are buying or selling a home in a contract in St. George, Washington County.
Right now, yeah, that's true.
So when we talk about this sweet fellow that's 89, lives in Vegas, and he really wants to be near his family. And he says, can I really get my home sold? What's the answer, Jesse?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And when Diane says, I really want to go to Ovation so I can hang out and enjoy 4 restaurants and socialize all the time, can we get her there? Well, yeah, yes. Actually, we're getting her.
You are getting her there.
Yeah, around June 5th.
Yep.
Right. Now, let's take Kathy. When Kathy says, hey, can I trade out of my house, still keep my reverse mortgage and go up to that home? Well, that was a no.
Yeah. And here's the problem a lot of people do. They take whatever number they need and they attach it to their house.
Yeah.
This is what I need.
Yeah.
Instead of going, okay, what can I actually get for my house? Now, can I do what I want to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we did with hers, right? What do we need? What can we get? And can we actually do what we're trying to do? No.
Correct.
Is there any other
2
solution?
minutes.
Probably not. Not to get you what you want, right? What you want.
Jesse, how many families did you personally work with? When I say families, whether it was a builder or not, how many transactions, how many times did you close a transaction last year?
64. 64.
I want you to think about that. 64 transactions. The average consumer is going to buy or sell every 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how long it would take to get to 64 transactions?
A long time.
Well, it would take hundreds and hundreds of years. Time. And this isn't to point out. It is to point out. We're actually working in this market dealing with the issues of consumers, right? And we're talking to the buyers, we're talking to the sellers. One of the things we're going to do here, guys, as we move into our final minute, I want to pitch 2 things. Monday night is our 1-year anniversary here at the Legacy Corner.
That's going to be so fun.
Guys, I want you to visit facebook.com or Instagram and look up the Larkin Group and RSVP. We'd love to see you Monday night. We're going to have live music. The Biscuit Bus is going to be here. Number 2, the Downtown Business Alliance is doing something fun this Saturday, Musicians on Main. Now, this show will live in perpetuity on YouTube, so some of this won't be real time. But Saturday, today is the 16th, 18th of May, Musicians on Main from 1 to 3 p.m. Super cool.
Oh, that's going to be cool.
We're going to stay live. Blake, we can stay live today for a few minutes? Okay. I'm going to make a quick potty break. Jesse, I want you, here's what, guys, we're going to stay live on Facebook. If you want to go to facebook.com/St. George Experts as we wrap up here in 30 seconds. And what we're going to do is we're going to answer some of the biggest questions that buyers and sellers are asking right now. For my Larkin Group, my team members that are listening right now, will you guys throw in the Facebook chat, a couple of the top questions people are asking? Guys, visit us at gostgeorge.com, the Larkin Group, KW Realty. Jesse, thanks for being on with us.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, guys, if you're a buyer or seller, we're going to stay live today from Larkin Group HQ. I'm going to run to the restroom really quick. I do get to do that. Jesse, I want to get some questions wound up. Will you even ask our team in the chat?
Yep.
It's recording this show in May of 2024. Our home price is still going up.
They actually are.
Let's talk about year over year. I mean, year over year, let's talk about that.
Okay, let me actually pull it up.
So nationally, I'm going to tell you this. Nationally, year over year, home prices have gone up 5%, and 4 to 5%, 5, 4. And this is an interesting situation. And I was chatting last night with a very close friend at like 9:30 p.m. when I should have been asleep. We're talking about the real estate market.
Okay. This blows me
and we're talking
away.
about the market. Well, here's what I said. I said, we have a conundrum, and the conundrum is this. I called it, before you even answer it, the impossible catch-22. This, by the way, this is great real estate content for anybody who wants to know. The impossible catch-22 looks like this. You guys ready? The federal government said, we need to stimulate the economy because of COVID, so they dropped interest rates to like negative 50. Okay, it was about 2.8%.
2.5,
okay?
2.8. 9.
They ripped interest rates down. Okay. Well, they caused everyone who had a pulse to start trying to buy real estate.
Yeah.
On a previous show, I actually watched The Real this morning, Blake. I actually watched it on our Instagram feed, why we wish we would have purchased more homes during COVID. And I said on a previous show, I wish I would have purchased 5 to 30 homes during COVID. Jesse, during COVID, were prices at an all-time high or an all-time low? All-time high.
All-time high. Yep.
Yeah, you paused. I was like, I got to beat him to it.
Because I wanted to make sure I heard what you said.
All-time high.
Yep, all-time high for prices.
I wish I would have purchased 5 to 30 homes. Why? Because I could have financed them under 3%.
Because the payments were almost an all-time low.
Well, the impossible catch-22 is that they ripped the rates down low, which caused prices to skyrocket. Then they raised the rates up high. Mm-hmm. Well, when they raised the rates up high, what happened was all the people with rates under 3% don't want to sell.
If they were going to, they won't.
And because they don't want to sell, there was actually an article in Wall Street Journal this week that says the baby boomers are staying put that have the 3% rates. Mm-hmm. So the people that should be selling, which would supply the market with inventory, which would keep prices down, don't want to sell. And here's the catch-22. Yep. Prices are high and interest rates are high. And somehow, Jesse, what have home prices done in the last year?
They've gone up. So if we look at the average, home price, year over year, it's up 9.6%. The median sales price, which is just right in the middle, which is more of an accurate number, is 3.4%, 3.14.
Say more.
So the median really shows us, it takes away the outliers. So if you have something really high or really low, it will get rid of that. So it's more conducive to what the actual prices have done.
Correct.
Right? Because the 9.6, we probably had some astronomical prices that sold.
Correct.
That just threw it off. But with the median, it really doesn't happen. Right? So 3.14 for last year. And I would have expected it if you would ask me. So
prices went up by 3%.
Yep. From this time last year to this year. Now, if you'd have asked me in January, I would have told you we would have probably be down by 10%. Because we were, up until that point, we were going down.
So just so you know, I mean, I knew this in my head. I said $500,000 home went from 500 to 515. Yep. Impossible catch-22. Prices are high and rates are high, and somehow prices have gone up. What are we supposed to do with this?
So that's why you talked about the baby boomers that should be selling, that would be downsizing. The conundrum for them, they're going to sell this huge house, move into a smaller home, and with today's interest rates,
correct,
actually have a higher payment.
Bingo.
Does that even make sense for them?
No.
That's why they're not moving.
No. Okay. Next question. Let's see here. Here's another one. I had another question. This is actually another text that I had, which is kind of interesting, right? The question was asked, is it a safe time to buy a home or like, am I risking a crash? And this question actually came up yesterday. So one of our agents asked this, one of our agents actually asked, how would I respond to a buyer who said, are we looking at another housing crisis? Okay. So let's talk about this. There was a reason that we had a mortgage environment meltdown what on earth are they doing? Oh, it's a street cleaner. In 2007, 2008, let's talk about it.
So I wanted to say this yesterday, and we just ran out of time. The reason that we had the meltdown in 2008 was not because the market was going down. It was because everybody had these really weird mortgages, that the interest rates came to the point where they were going to go up. And so they skyrocketed, right? Those arms.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden they couldn't afford the payment.
Well, and we had people doing what are called liar loans,
right?
Defined as what? What's a liar loan?
You make $200,000 a year? Great. Just sign here.
Stated income. People would just state
They didn't have to prove it.
Right.
So, and I want to flesh this thought out for a second. Had they actually had a 30-year mortgage and was in a stable loan in a stable house and something that they could afford, would we have actually had the meltdown as bad as it was?
No, here's the thing. If people can afford their mortgage, no. So here's what you have to understand. Every single borrower who has a loan right now is qualified.
Right.
Now, could they lose the job?
Yep.
Yes.
So things can happen, but I think it happened to the extent that it did because of the amount of loans out there that were either arms, which aren't bad, but you've got to know what's happening with that thing and be able to handle the other side of the arm.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And they couldn't.
So when people ask the question, are we going to have another mortgage meltdown? No, I don't think so.
The data doesn't say it.
The data doesn't say it.
It shows even in southern Utah that we're still short in mortgage. And I say that because during one of the last 2 years have actually been pretty difficult, right? Because it got so expensive.
Correct.
Buyer demand really shrunk a little bit. And at the same time, we never got above 4 months of inventory. So that whole time was considered what we would call a seller's market.
Correct.
But because interest rates did what they did and it got so expensive, we had a ton of buyer behavior in a seller's market.
Correct.
But the inventory level was just always nil.
Yeah. I want to shift gears for just a minute. Okay. So if we hop on over to sutc.com, okay, I want to tell people where that is. If I go to sutc.com, that is Southern Utah Title Company. Southern Utah Title, of course, their slogan, they're doing good deeds since 1949, like literally deeds. Anyway, it's title humor. So let's talk about this. If you go to, where's the good news report? Okay, they have it in the tiniest link in the world down in the very bottom menu. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about foreclosures because I think that one of the things that you have to understand is, a follow-up question that's been asked is there a foreclosure wave coming? Okay, let's answer this question today. Is there a foreclosure wave coming? So a foreclosure in the title world is called a trustee's deed. And what we like to do is we say, okay, before there's a foreclosure, there's a warning sign.
Right.
And the warning sign is called the notice of default. And the notice of default is sent to a borrower, a mortgage, someone who has a mortgage on their home when they're 3 months late. And technically the banks could foreclose at 6 months late. Now, very few of them do because ever since things went sideways with COVID, they all got kind of weird and were like, well, we don't really want to take your home away. Maybe we could work out a deal with you to pay us in 2 months and we'll just add we'll tack it on, right? The unpaid payments. So I think this is kind of fascinating. In Washington County, all right, I want to talk about notices of default. This is called the foreclosure warning. It's a foreclosure warning.
Right. Not a foreclosure yet.
And I want to talk about foreclosure. Okay. Year to date. Okay. This is kind of fun.
What page is that on?
Always at the very bottom. So year to date, 65 homeowners in Washington County received a notice of default. And the notice of default was like, hey, dummy. Sorry to say dummy, but that's kind of what the bank's thinking, which is unfortunate, right? Hey, you should make your payment. Now, people don't make their payments for a lot of reasons. They lost a job. They had a death in the family, right? But the banks, they're a little firm, okay? 65 people, all right, so far this year.
Year to date. So
have received a foreclosure warning saying, if you don't pay us in 3 months, we're going to take the house away. Now, this is fascinating. Year to date, actual foreclosures. Now, I'm going to talk about how it's up from last year. 21 actual foreclosures have taken place in Washington County through April. 21. Okay. So, that's fewer than 6 a month, right? Now, that's a big increase because last year there were only 28 total, right?
All year.
Yeah, so 2, 6, 8, 7. Okay, 21 this year, 7 last year.
So now this is actually your area of expertise because you were in foreclosure for so long. What would be considered in Washington County a normal number for
No
the
clue.
year?
How did you like that for an
You
answer?
don't know? Okay.
There is. I don't have an. I don't
So
know.
we would have to go back to probably 17,
We'd have to look.
18.
We'd have to look at every single year for a decade.
Yeah.
But let me say this: there was a 300% increase in foreclosures in Washington County this year from last year. Now, if I only said that,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
okay, if I only said that, your interpretation of the real estate market
is crashing.
is that the market's crashing. 300% increase. Well, there are 21 foreclosures year to date, and last year there were 7. Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to keep in mind something. There's 65,000 households. 65,000 households in Washington County. Now that's households. That's not homes owned.
Right.
I don't know how many homes are owned,
Okay.
right, versus rentals.
Right.
I know there are about 65,000 households. But if 65,000 households, there have been 21 foreclosures. Okay.
I think it would be fair to say no, I'm not thinking of that correctly.
Okay.
I was going to say 5%, but it wouldn't be of the households.
Okay.
It would be actually a 5% of the homes for sale could be of foreclosure or notice of default and still be a healthy market.
Sure. I mean, look, easily, right? Easily.
Which would be about 120 a year.
Sure. Well, and we'll do the math. If you've had 21 divided by 4 months, I said fewer than 6 months, 5.25 a month, times 12. If we extrapolate it out, there would be 63 foreclosures this year in Washington County.
Yeah, which is
guys, it's really hardly.
And here's what happens with most of those. Actually,
anything.
Most of those will actually get sold on the courthouse steps and get fixed up and sold as a premium, right? As a regular listing, or the bank will fix them up, put new appliances, paint, carpet, and sell them as a premium. They do not drop the market like we would expect.
No, guys, they don't drop the market at all, right?
Because they fix them up to be a good listing, a good home.
Yeah, this is just not that market.
And those that aren't, they get sold to an investor who then fixes them up and sells them on the market.
Well, and look at it this way. So 65 notices of default year to date, 21 foreclosures. Well, realize that's not an exact comparison because the notice of default is 3 months before the foreclosure. But basically, if I'm just going to use stupid math, a third of only 1/3 of the people who get a notice end up in foreclosure. That's a good way to look at it.
Right.
Only a third, guys. Only a third of the people who get a foreclosure notice are going to actually foreclose. Right. So, if you have questions, by the way, at any point, when you're watching a program like ours or listening, visit us at gostgeorge.com, Google the Larkin Group, and you can say, hey, help me understand this in depth. Okay.
Right.
What you got something?
I wanted to come back to something you were talking about earlier with the expired listings. Before somebody actually decides to give up, including foreclosures, there's so many options that when you're under pressure, you can't think of.
Oh, yes,
right?
dude.
You just can't think when you're under pressure. And that includes at the end of your listing, when you're frustrated and you just have lost hope. It's not possible that you have thought of all the answers.
No,
all of the solutions.
You listen. This is where hiring. Okay,
it would be helpful to actually have a different perspective in a conversation that's not about pressure. It's about let's see if there actually is a solution.
So, we asked the question on another video: do you really need a real estate agent to buy a home? Well, I mean, look. There is a percentage of people who don't need or don't want to use an agent to buy a home. Like I'm going to say 10%.
Yeah.
10%. Okay. That said, first of all, the Utah real estate purchase contract is 6 pages long.
It's pretty complicated.
I cannot tell you how many times I've watched people They just look at it and they're like, where do I sign? Now, that's fine, but I would say, do you understand? Do you actually understand that there is 6 pages and 25 sections of legalese? By the way, this is step 1. Hang on. I can just see he's dying to talk. He's dying. He does this. You can kind of hear him breathe into the mic. It's so entertaining.
I get all excited.
That's step 1. Then there's the seller's property condition disclosure. If you're a buyer, did you ask the seller to provide you a disclosure? What's that? Oh, that's just the 18-page document where they disclose whether they had a leak, a flood, mold, a property line issue. No, I just bought my home from my neighbor. Well, you have no idea. You might not know that once upon a time, I purchased a building lot in a place called Countryside. I purchased 2, and I built myself a home. And 5 doors up from that, I built another home a year later as a spec home, and I sold it. And a lady named Kathy Johnson, who doesn't live here, no one will know her. It's a very generic name. Kathy Johnson bought the home. Well, it just so happens that about a decade later, I bought the home back from her, right? She put a pool and all this cool stuff in the backyard and put it on the market, and I said, I think we're going to move. So we sell our home. Now, I'm a licensed real estate agent. I've been in the business a decade. I sell my home to one of my neighbors, closely held transaction. He purchases the home from me. We move 5 doors up the street. We move in. When we move in, it just so happens that we find out the lot is a reverse pie, meaning the front of the lot, it's in a cul-de-sac. The front of the lot is narrow and the back of the lot is wide. And as we start to do some research, we find out that the wall was 1 hair off of the property line starting at the front of the lot, but as it gets wider, it's going to get further and further.
A good 2 feet.
We found out that our neighbor had about 400 square feet of our lot. He owned it, but he didn't own it.
Yep.
Now, he's a good friend of mine, and we worked it out. So you might want a seller's property condition disclosure. So 6 pages of the Rep C, 18 pages of seller's property condition disclosure. And we haven't even gotten into addendums. So Jesse, when you talk about it's tough to make decisions when you're under pressure, try making decisions as a buyer or seller under pressure with 0 legal protection and 0 experience actually managing 40 pages of contract.
Here's what
Good luck.
I want to go back to the actual purchase contract.
Have fun.
There's sections of that are really confusing. And if you fill that out wrong, you've just, and then you cancel, you've just actually cost yourself your earnest money because
have you had a buyer
have
you ever had a buyer lose their earnest money?
Mm-hmm.
Of course you have.
I haven't.
Well, guess what? I have.
I've
had a buyer lose their earnest money.
I haven't yet.
I have. Do you want to know why they lost their earnest money?
Tell me.
Because they thought they had it all figured out. And I said, okay, your due diligence deadline is passing. Do you have it figured out? They said, yep, we're clear. We're 100% certain. And then the deadline passed and they realized a week later that they weren't certain about what they were going to do with their lives. And I said, oh, you have a problem.
Yep.
The seller can retain your earnest money. Guess what they signed? They signed a 2-page buyer due diligence document. A buyer due diligence document is a Utah state prepared form. We don't prepare the form. And it says you as a buyer have all these rights and obligations. Did you notice what the second word was? Obligations.
Yep. But on that purchase contract, if you read it incorrectly, you will fill that in with your earnest money, which doubles it. And if you cancel, half of it goes.
This is a fun conversation.
But it's confusing if you don't read it really careful. So many times when I have people write their own contract, they have filled it out that way.
I have some fun for you guys. You guys ready for some fun? Jesse, let me tell you how you guys want to know how confusing the Utah real estate purchase contract is and every purchase contract? The Larkin Group is pushing, we're almost at 2,000 transactions closed.
Nice.
Guess what I have to do when I read a real estate purchase contract?
Slow down.
I have to read it closely.
Yeah, slow down.
I want you to hear what I just said. I'm going to repeat this. Almost 2,000 transactions closed.
Yep.
Okay, if we closed 2,000, it means that we had another 1,000 that went under contract that failed. So we've handled 3,000 purchase contracts. And when I open up the agreement, I read it very, very carefully.
And how often have you heard from me, from you, from the broker, go back, what does the contract say? And we go back and read it again.
You guys ready for this? You guys ready for this?
And again.
This is fun. Hey, listen, I don't know if a buyer needs an agent. That's cool. I just open up a blank reps Utah purchase contract. I'll just read section 3.1 settlement. Settlement shall take place no later than the settlement deadline referenced in section 24D or as otherwise mutually agreed upon by buyer and seller in writing. Settlement shall occur only when one of the following event completed. A, the buyer and seller have signed and delivered to each other or to the escrow or closing office all the documents required by the rep, C, by the lender or by the title insurance and escrow and closing offices, and by written escrow instructions, including any split closing transactions if applicable, or if applicable by law. B, any monies should I keep going?
Right.
But you don't need an agent. Guys, that's actually in the Utah purchase contract. I just pulled. Oh, Jesse, let's just jump down. But Jeremy, you just picked a hard section. Okay, let's just read section 6.1. Seller represents to the buyer that has fee that the seller represents that seller has fee title to the property and will convey marketable title to the property to buyer by closing by general warranty deed. Buyer does agree to accept title to the property subject to the contents of the commitment for title insurance, known as the commitment, provided by seller under section 7 as reviewed and approved by the buyer in section 8. I want to vomit if I'm a buyer. Mm-hmm. Here's my answer. You need representation.
Yeah.
And you're crazy. And here's what I hear. I hear people who kind of have this know-it-all attitude. Oh, well, you could just hire an attorney to do this. You know, you could. And you want to know the fun part about it? You could pay an attorney by hour to do this. You want to start that? Do you want to start that? And the attorney's like, well, cool. I'm $275 an hour.
Yep.
Nobody wants to pay per hour. Jesse, this is why the real estate commission, we had a video that ran 10,000 plays like in seconds.
Wow.
That we talked about why the real estate commission framework worked so long, so well. And here's why. I'm going to repeat it today. The seller has us do all of the work for 1 to 3 to 6 or 12 months. And how much do they pay up front?
0.
They pay us only if and when what?
We close the home. We sell it.
And the buyer who doesn't have the money to pay a commission and certainly doesn't want to pay hourly pays nothing because included in the purchase price was what? A commission for who?
The buyer's agent.
This is why it worked. Mm-hmm. And people, when we did this video, they were like, yeah, you guys are criminals. Whatever, dude. I don't care. I love it. I love people to call us criminals because what they do is they drive traffic. Every time someone calls realtors criminals online, it tells YouTube or Facebook, this is an interesting video. You should distribute it more. Mm. So, Jesse, do you think people need representation? Yes or no?
I do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you noticed?
I actually am selling a house right now, and I have representation. And when she called me, and I sell a lot of real estate, right?
It's another state.
Yep. She called me yesterday with the inspection stuff. My question to her is, what do you think? Because number one, she knows the temperature of that market. Number two, she's got a good pulse on the buyer's agent and the buyer. I said, what do you think? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, you don't know.
And they have a complicated structure in Missouri.
Yeah, sure.
Complicated.
Sure, right? I mean, come on, right?
And I've been in the business 10 years, and she says some things, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Because it's a different state, different laws, different rules. They do things completely different.
Yeah. This is really fun. I want to share something with you when we were talking about whether prices were falling.
Yeah.
And as we wrap this up, do you need representation? Well, do you want to navigate a 20 to 30 to 40 page contract on your own? That's a great answer. Yes, you need representation, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Back when we talked about our home prices and falling in St. George or Utah or going up, I had Googled it at the time and I pulled the tab back up. This was an article that came through the Spectrum that said St. George area home prices have fallen slightly, even as houses for sale remain in high demand. A typical Washington County home listed for $749,500 in June, down 1.7% from the previous month. 76. Okay, here's why this. Did you hear what I just said? Previous month. So what people mistake when they look at real estate data is they try to look at a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean by that. I'm gonna share an analogy.
Yep.
Okay. So I am a mountain bike racer. By the way, a very mediocre racer, but I like to do it.
Yeah.
So I've worked with a coach because at 48 years old and your body doesn't recover as well. And this morning when I was on my foam roller, I was like, man, I ain't recovering very well. Yeah. I told Jesse, I'm like,
beat yourself
tired.
Up the last
I'm pretty tired. So her name's Sarah. She's a former professional racer. And what she does is she produces my training plan for an event I'm doing. And then once a month we get on the phone and chat. Well, what my bike does, I have what's called a power meter on it. And the power meter shows me how many watts I'm producing with my pedal stroke at any given moment. Well, I see it on my bike computer in two ways. I see how many watts I'm producing in the exact second, like in that second.
Wow.
But I also see how many watts I'm producing on a 3-second average. The 3-second average, how much more accurate do you think that is than the 1 second?
Oh, much.
Okay, because it shows me what I produce through, because think of 3 seconds.
Time.
1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. That's a long period of time. Yeah. Now watch. She and I met 2 days ago on Zoom. She lives in Salt Lake, and we reviewed the last 3 weeks of training. And when we reviewed the training, she said, "Did you see your Tuesday workout? I asked you if you'd eaten." I said, "Yeah, I ate like a champ." She said, "I want to show you why." So we pulled it up on a computer, not on my phone. And what she did is there were 3 15-minute intervals in a 90-minute. So it was a 90-minute workout. It's a long workout.
Okay.
And there were 3 15-minute intervals in their threshold intervals, which is like carrying a pace that's pretty darn uncomfortable for like where you're like, man, can I hold this for 15 minutes? And then you take a break for 7. She showed me the power for the first 7, the first interval of 15. And then we looked at the second and the third. I was producing 170 watts in the first 15 minutes, and I was producing 110 watts in the second and third 15 minutes. My power fell by 33%, a third. Would it have been accurate for me to go, oh, well, I looked at the first interval, I produced 170 watts?
Right. No.
I had to look at the whole workout. Now, guys are like, where are you going with this? You cannot look at real estate data like this. Home prices were $500 last month, and they're $495 today. I guess prices are falling.
So I want to take when you're done. I want to take
that's not a complete view. A complete view is minimum 90 days. My preference is 6 months, and in a perfect world, we should look how big of a span, Jesse?
6 months.
Well,
probably 12.
What have you been looking at? You've
12.
been looking at year over
12.
year.
So I want to go to our Washington County polls and give. This is a great example of what you're talking about.
Okay.
The last 4 weeks. Okay, starting with 4 weeks ago, 607 median home price. Week number 3, 567. 2, 542. 4, 535. Downward trend, but our market's going up. See, on a weekly snapshot, it only shows you what closed this week. On a monthly snapshot, it only shows you what closed this month.
This is what I'm talking about.
Over the year, it averages it out and gives you a true data.
This is what I'm talking. Let's go back to the power reading. If I only look as a cyclist at the first 15 minutes of 3 15-minute intervals in a ride, and here's what was so cool. Guess what we figured out, by the way, Jesse? We figured out, she said, okay, either you didn't get enough sleep. I didn't, because I wear a watch that tells me. And that was, guess what I did? She said, did you not sleep enough, do you think? And then I looked at my watch, and it said I had 6.5 hours of sleep that night. That's not enough for me.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So it actually tells you when you're asleep, when you're in REM, because your heart rate.
Your watch should tell you that.
I don't wear it to bed.
Oh, you don't? No. Yeah, it'll tell you all that. Number 2, she said, or you didn't eat enough. So then we started analyzing what I ate in between the intervals. So this is why you hire a real estate agent. An actual realtor, an actual real professional, it should be called a real professional, not a realtor, is going to say, Jesse, you asked a question. Lindsay asked a question in our chat today, okay? She asked the question, should I wait for the presidential election to buy or sell? Well, let's answer the questions as we wrap up our program today. We're going to answer that question. A real professional is going to be like, well, let's do this. Why don't we look at historic trends in the market, right? That's number 1. Number 2, I would ask you the question, what do you feel like could happen at the end of a presidential election cycle? Let's answer the question, Jesse. Should somebody wait for the election? I guess the question is, what would they be waiting for? She had a client ask her. This is one of our agents had a client ask her this question.
Well, just to see if the market will change after the election.
Okay.
Will it be better?
Okay. So meaning like, and how would it be better? Just for fun. Let's
okay, so in her mind, if there's a change, the market could be better because there's a change.
Yeah.
But looking at past, right? Sometimes the market can get a little bit stagnant during elections because people hold off, waiting to see. Or it could stay the same, and she thinks it's good that way.
This is fun. You guys, you want to hear the analysis?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's pretend that you wanted to purchase a $1 million, as Austin Powers said, home in Washington County. Okay. We're going to say that the home price is $1 million, Jesse. Yeah, I know the answers, but I'm asking you for the listeners.
Yeah.
Should I wait? Okay. $200,000 down payment, 20%,
Okay.
30-year rate. Okay. All right. So let's update. So my mortgage payment with principal, interest, taxes, and insurance I put it in for Hurricane, Utah, where you live.
Okay.
So you wanted to build a $1 million home, buy a $1 million home at Sand Hollow at Dixie Springs. Monthly payment would be $6,181.
Okay.
Okay. Should I wait for an election? Well, you ready to play a game?
Yeah.
I said on a previous show that I wish I would have purchased 5 to 30 properties during COVID when prices were at all-time highs at the time. We always look back. Guess what your monthly payment would be if you had purchased at 3% that same $1 million home? $4,097. Mm-hmm. You could have owned a $1 million home if you purchased it during COVID when everyone is freaking out going, how could you pay $50,000 over for $4,097 a month? But instead, today, your payment would be $6,181 a month. My answer to anyone waiting for the election is get clear on what you're waiting for.
Yeah,
if you have the desire to purchase today, I'm curious about why you would wait, really, because by the way, you have no idea what's going to happen at the end of a presidential election.
So here's the conundrum for people waiting. Let's just say somebody's waiting for the interest rates to come down. Here's one of the challenges with that. As we just saw, the market started going up again. And it probably won't stop. If it started going up in this current environment, it's probably going to keep going up. So the challenge with waiting is now waiting is until the interest rates come down. Actually, probably just shot yourself in the foot, and you don't make any difference at all.
Correct.
If you're between waiting now to next year, because your payment will be roughly the same with a lower interest rate.
Oh my gosh, I love
because the prices will be high.
Correct. Listen, that's spot on.
So I want to come back to one thing when we were talking about, you mentioned something that I want to address, working with a professional and the strategies and its feedback. I want to talk about a failure that I had really quick before we end. So I had a listing that I didn't realize that the seller was staying for showings. And this was the kindest, most loving person I'd ever met.
Beautiful human.
So
beautiful human.
And you would think that that's okay. People loved her. Here's the challenge. People loved her so much that they didn't really take a look at the house.
Yeah.
They didn't really give me good feedback.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Why didn't they really look at the house? Because people didn't understand what that means.
Because they were busy visiting with the seller.
And if the seller's there and she's a sweet little lady,
awesome lady,
are they going to be able to have an honest conversation amongst each other's like, wow, this is the worst paint color I've ever seen in my life.
And I didn't realize this was really causing some damage until they moved out. And then I started getting real feedback because they didn't fall in love with the person there and not want to hurt their feelings. And now I'm getting real feedback going, what was going on? How did I miss this? Mm-hmm. Why wasn't this coming before? Mm-hmm. And that's the reason. When I realized that that's what happened, I'm like, oh man, that's the biggest problem with us, even us being there. They won't be honest then either.
Correct.
Right.
Which is such a great question. Hey, can I just be present for showings? I mean, listen, I'm the homeowner. Nobody knows the home better than I do. You're right. But the problem is the buyers and the agents, they don't want you there.
And even if they say they do, they won't and can't really do their job of checking out the home. And then we can't really do our job of getting honest feedback. Because once they've met you, they will not be honest unless they're
Amen.
unless it's 100% positive.
Yeah, they
Because the feedback, the difference in the feedback between when they were living there and she stayed and I didn't know, it didn't come up, to now, I'm like, it's night and day.
Yeah. It's like this. What did you think of the home? It was lovely.
It was lovely.
Right? You're like, wow, that sounded kind of hollow. A month later when the seller's not there, dudes, you need to renovate this thing. This needs fresh paint. It probably needs fresh carpet in the bedrooms and you ought to stage it. Oh, ouch. That's not the same feedback we were getting when she was there.
Right.
Right?
And isn't that the difference between meeting somebody face to face and on social media?
You mean that I can go on social and say any mean thing I want to anybody because I'm...
But once you've met somebody and once you've been face to face,
different world, dude.
It changes the reaction.
I want to wrap up. Time. Guys, it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been a fun discussion. Listen, here's the fun part. We have more questions for next week.
Oh, good.
And I'm going to let these hang out. Aren't prices heavily inflated due to COVID and people moving out of state paying cash? Yes, potentially. How can I determine if it's a buyer or seller's market? We do most of our home searching on Zillow. Can I just sell my home for sale by owner and save all the commissions? What is the most important thing when listing people should do to prepare a home? These are so good.
How did we miss those?
They're just hitting in the last few minutes.
Okay.
Any idea on when interest rates will drop? This is so good, guys. We're going to wrap it today. And we're going to hold some of these for next week. I want to talk about 3 things. If you're watching live right now, I want you to check out the Musicians on Main from 1 to 3 p.m. This is the Downtown Business Alliance. My friend Chris Connors, Farmstead Bakery, FS Coffee owner, one of my good friends. Cool. He is really trying to push, and I'm supportive of this, Danielle Larkin, city councilwoman, who's not my wife, but my cousin's wife and one of my also dear friends. There are several of us really pushing to get people downtown. We want that energy downtown. I want you to check it out.
Saturday, right?
Saturday.
Hopefully I'm done with my race by then.
This following Monday, I want you to... that was actually funny based on our conversations.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully you are for your sake. For your sake. Yeah. For your ride. This Monday, we have our 1-year anniversary for our legacy corner of the building we're in right now. Please, guys, RSVP. It's in facebook.com/St. George Experts. Look us up on Instagram, the Larkin Group. The link is in our bio. RSVP. We're going to have the biscuit bus here. We're going to have Dylan. What's Dylan's last name? Jen, I forgot. Dylan, not Thomas. Anyway, he is like an amazing acoustical guitarist and has such his voice. It's like a songbird. So he's going to be here doing live music this next Monday evening, and we invite you to come out. We've got the biscuit bus here. They're going to, for $5, you're getting like a $12 bundle. Here's why we did it this way, by the way. Some of our agents are like, well, why aren't we buying it for people? And here's what we realized. Not everybody wants the food you prepare. Mm-hmm. And so what would happen is we'd prepare food and people show up and be like, oh, we have a dinner after. Oh, we're going to dinner. So we went to the biscuit bus people and said, what would you get? Dylan, Gavin, thank you, Jen. They said, hey, we'll do a biscuit bundle, a $12 bundle for $5, like a savory and a sweet. We'll have plenty of drinks here, live music. If you just want to come hang out and wander around, it is going to be a great time, guys. Monday night. The last thing I want you to do is it's twofold. If you're a buyer or seller, visit us at gostgeorge.com, Google the Larkin Group, and say, hey, I heard you on the radio. You guys either know what you're talking about or you act really well like you do. It's one of the two.
Yeah.
I want to visit. I have questions. We will answer any real estate question you have. And number 2, if you're a real estate agent, guys, and you do not have, and I'm going to tell you right now in place the following, okay? Jesse, let's talk about this. This is so much fun. So we routinely visit with real estate agents about their businesses. And there are 5 elements that need to exist in a real estate business if you're going to be successful as a realtor.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
You need multiple lead pillars. You need a system to develop your skills. You need an opportunity for growth, which is called upward mobility. You need a CRM, contact management system, and you need an administrative support. If you don't have all 5 of those, we want to visit with you, right?
Yeah.
You know, if somebody goes in the wall in the other room, they're going to find out that agents here at the Larkin Group are actually able to earn, and several have, corporate level Blue Cross, Blue Shield, corporate level health insurance. I'm on it. You're on it.
Yep, I'm on it.
It is amazing. Guys, stock options.
Save me $1,000 a month this year.
Holy crap. The ability to invest in Place stock. The Larkin Group is powered by Place. If you don't have those 5 things in place, a CRM, opportunity for growth to like build a team within the team, multiple lead pillars, a system to develop your skills, and administrative back end. I'm going to guess, Jesse, most agents don't have three of the five. Very few have five, and most have probably most have probably two of the five.
Yep.
But
that's true.
Right. I want you to visit us, join larkingroup.com or just the Larkin Group, look us up, and let's just have a conversation. And here's what we want to do. We don't want to encourage you to come over here because it may not be a fit. We want to find out what your needs are if you're a real estate agent. Let's run a diagnostic.
Can it be a good fit?
Let's run a diagnostic on those five and figure out what's missing and figure out how to get you there. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having
Peace
us.
out.